Hello and welcome to the pre-season test for Wayports Racing League Season 2. I'm Peter Butcher and joining me in the commentary box is Adam Brown.
Hello.
Hello, let's get this show on the road. We have 9 eager drivers awaiting the pre-season test at Blackwood GP in the XF GTI in Live for Speed. This series is presented by Sim Broadcasts and organised by Wayports app. So let's have a look at the season calendar, shall we, Adam? We have today, the non-championship pre-season test at Blackwood GP BL1, Saturday the 1st of May, and then we will have a 10-race season for the second season starting at Kyoto Ring National Reversed, a very technical, very long circuit which has an interesting infield, Adam, as well as an oval. But today, Blackwood GP, do you want to tell us a little bit about this track?
It's quite a fast track. Even in these slow cars, it's got some massive curbs that you've got to watch out for. You can easily flip on them if you in the first chicane and also in the corners afterwards. It's around a minute 40 lap, minute 30 lap, and there's plenty of overtaking opportunities down into the third corner after the long straight, or even into the first corner after the home straight.
Yeah, so we've got a 3.3 kilometre, 2.1 mile Blackwood GP circuit. The drivers should be very familiar with this. They used it a couple of times last season, and they've been practicing hard all week. Qualifying is underway for 10 minutes, then we'll have a 15-minute race kicking off at 2:15 UTC. The car the drivers are going to be using for the entirety of this season, the same as Season 1, the XF GTI in Live for Speed, a 1.3 litre inline-4 front-engined car with 86 kilowatts or 115 brake horsepower, depending on where you're from. It's a tricky little car around this track. It didn't used to be. This track has been reprofiled in Live for Speed. But yeah, it does present quite a challenge for the drivers, this little car, Adam.
Yeah, front-wheel drive is also an interesting challenge in a car on a track. Normally, if you're in a track car, you've got rear-wheel drive, but front-wheel drive is a bit strange. You've got to be careful on the power. You've got to watch for running wide, and it's often quite tail happy on turning. So even with this low power, it's a fun little car.
So the drivers are making their way around. They're crossing the start-finish line now to start their first timed lap of the session, which gives us a great little opportunity to talk about what happened last season, which concluded a couple of weeks ago. Mariano from Interlink France won the Drivers' Championship by, well, a landslide, 88 points, it's safe to say. Andy from Strings, he was, 170 points in second place. He had a good fight in the final race of that season, but Mariano stormed away in the end. Santiago, Andy's teammate, took the third place spot. Felipe from Interlink Brazil, P4. Eduardo from Interlink Argentina, P5. Ian from Bundles, who's here today, P6. Valentina for Interlink France, Mariano's teammate, who eventually ended up the pair of them winning the team's championship, which I'll talk about in a moment. Guillermo from UCL TV, P8, Romina for Bundles in P9, and William from Interlink Brazil rounding out the top 10. And there you can see there were a lot of drivers that took place in the first season. Not all of them scored points, but they attended throughout the season, and we saw a good variety of drivers. And we have a good variety of drivers here again today for the pre-season test that we are broadcasting here. Let's take a look at the team's championship, shall we? From season number 1. As I mentioned before, Interlink France, Mariano and Valentina stormed away, but look at the gap. Only 6 points back to Strings. So towards the end of the season, Andy and Santiago really showed Interlink France a bit of competition. So we do expect them to be pretty tight at the top of the table this season. Bundles in P3, Interlink Brazil P4, Interlink Argentina ended up P5, UCL TV P6, Venexa, who aren't here this season, P7, Integra Technologies P8, Compagnia Integra P9, and Apronet P10. And they're the rest of the teams that competed in Season 1. Adam, we've got some times on the board. Who's leading the way?
We do indeed. Mariano from Interlink France has got the fastest lap on the board. Close behind him is Andy from Strings, so there's your top 2 from last season, top 2 in qualifying so far. I noticed they had a little scuffle going through the first chicane there, already racing in qualifying.
Yeah, it does look like Andy's picked up a bit of damage on the front right of his car already, and it's only qualifying. So these two elbows out already in qualifying. 5 minutes 46 seconds to go in this session. And look, Andy nearly a second behind Mariano already. Andy this season, we believe, has bought himself a wheel. So let's see how quickly he can get up to speed with his equipment. It does appear as though he has reverted back to keyboard for this session. Live for Speed offers you a bunch of controller options, and Andy's decided to try and attempt this qualifying session with his keyboard again. So that's interesting. Yeah, let's see if Mariano can stay that gap.
I mean, if Andy's used to the keyboard, then I can see why he's stuck with it. Because if you're not used to a wheel, it takes a little while to learn.
Yeah, Adam, you're new to the Wayports Racing League commentary box. I commentated on a couple of episodes, a couple of rounds last season, and it was great to see the drivers learning. So towards the end of the season, Andy definitely improved. So yeah, you're right. If he can put on a good show with his keyboard today, he could give Mariano some hard work. Mariano's coming across the line to set another lap, and no improvement on that attempt. So 1:37.2 currently the time set by our provisional pole sitter. 4 minutes to go in the session. We've got Ian from Bundles just crossing the line with a 1:39.7 there in P3. Here's Valentina coming around the first corner to start another lap. 3.9 seconds off pole. Valentina really needs to be setting lap times kind of close to her teammate, because these two, they have a little bit of a pace gap at the moment. And they need to start scoring big for the teams championship, as we see Bruno from ORT and also Romano from ORT setting good times there. ORT are a new team to the championship, and Bruno P2 and Romano in P4. Very close actually to Mariano's time there, Adam. Look,
incredibly close, only around a tenth. Yeah, interesting to see how these new competitors fare. Obviously, Mariano won by quite a bit last season, but get some closer competition. It'll be great fun if it goes down to the wire.
Wow, it definitely looks like it's going to go down to the wire in qualifying. Only 1,300 separating our provisional pole sitter and this man on screen, Bruno from ORT, in that lovely looking maroon and white livery, I have to say. And yeah, let's see what Andy can manage as Andy. In fact, he goes on to provisional pole with a 1:37.06. So even with his keyboard, he is absolutely on pace. And look at the gap between the top three now, less than 0.3 of a second separating the top three. I think this is the closest grid we've had so far in WRL.
Yeah, Mariano just improved, but not enough to take Andy's lap away from him. It's only it's less than a tenth between them. It's 7/700ths is the gap for the pole time. It's incredibly close at the front.
Yeah, so Adam, there's a new format to qualifying this season, 2 minutes less in qualifying, and that time has been given to the race. So we're going to see longer races in WRL Season 2 and a slightly shorter qualifying session, which means the drivers get less time to put their perfect lap together, and that's going to be tricky for someone like Mariano, who really needs to get on the front row in qualifying. It might give everybody else less, but it also gives the quicker drivers, the drivers who are more experienced and more used to being at the front, less time to put together that perfect lap. Mariano in Season 1 it became pretty clear that he used to like to set his best times in the dying laps, maybe when his tyres were nice and warm or he'd completely warmed up to the circuit. But yeah, he's not being gifted as much time this season to get the job done. Less than 2 minutes to go. So Mariano, when he crosses the line, will only get one more flying lap. Adam.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like this is going to be a slight improvement again if he doesn't mess up the final corner, because his split time from the second split is looking fairly decent. It's nice through the final corner, no issues, very clean, not much tire squeal or anything like that. And he does indeed improve. He beats the pole time by just over 0.2, so he's got a fair gap to the front. He's got to hope that Andy and Bruno don't go any faster.
Absolutely. I mean, he's the first driver in the sub 1:37s. He's just done a 1:36.84. Andy, who we're looking at right now, is on the back straight. He'll get
Bruno's on
time.
pole.
Bruno, what a lap! So the new team throwing down the gauntlet. I wonder what Mariano makes of that. He won't like the look of that, I'm sure. as we start the season. He's already got competition in the pre-season test, but it's great for us, the viewers. We have a competition on our hands. The top four super close at the moment.
I think that's down to the tyres, Bruno. Tyres are only looking warmed up by now, so obviously it's giving him a few laps to get used to the car and to give the tyres a bit of time to wear in. And now that he's taken that time, he's obviously got some pace on him.
Yeah, we need to keep an eye on Andy and Mariano's split times, because they're the only drivers at this point that are going to be able to displace Bruno, who's come out of nowhere, completely, like literally out of nowhere, and has set the pace right now. And we have 10 seconds left in the session. The drivers have 10 seconds left to cross start finish, else they won't get another time. We're hearing that Andy from Strings will just make it across in time to get another lap in. There we are. The clock is at 0. Andy has in fact made it across start finish, so Andy will get another shot. Mariano will not. Mariano is rounding the final corner. Let's see what he can do. It's not enough, Adam.
Yeah, no improvement. So, I mean, we have to wait and see what Andy does. It's going to be another minute before we see his time, but it's looking very much like we've got a new face on pole.
Absolutely. I mean, Andy has had a pretty smooth start to the lap. Let's see what his split time is as he comes across the first sector.
Not just a smooth start of the lap. He's also got a tiny bit of a draft from this.
That is true.
From Pedro in front, who, he's from the same team as Bruno, so we might see. Is he gonna get out the way so easily, or is he gonna slow it down a bit?
Yeah, ORT have two teams in WRL. There are 4 drivers representing. Only 3 of them are here today, but it's great to see. So let's see how that shuffles out. I think only 2 of the drivers are allowed to score points in the championship. We'll get clarification on that for the start of the real season. But anyway, let's see what Andy can manage. He's got 2 corners to go. These are 2 very tricky corners at Blackwood. You really have to stick that apex and he's run wide. This will not be an improvement. I don't think he's going to improve on the 1:37.06 that he's set, which is, around Blackwood on a keyboard. That's pretty respectable. As he comes around the final corner, I'm going to call it, Adam. I think Bruno's got the job done, and I think Mariano may just stick second place. Let's see who is on the front row. It's a 40 for Andy, which does mean that we have a new pole sitter in WRL. Bruno from ORT will take honours there. So let's get a full rundown of the order, Adam, and see how this grid is going to line up for the start of the pre-season test of Wayports Racing League Season 2.
So yeah, we have, as we said, Bruno got the pole time. Is quite a respectable time there, 1:36.7, and just over a tenth behind him, Mariano, and then a couple tenths behind him we've got Andy from Strings. Then we've got Romano from ORT, with about a second slower than the guys in front of him, with a 1:38.9, or sorry, 2 seconds. So might see a little gap forming there after the first couple of laps. Ian from Bundles in 5th, Valentina from Interlink in 6th, Eduardo again from Interlink, Argentina this time, in 7th, William from Interlink Brazil in 8th, and finally rounding out the grid, Pedro from ORT with a 1:48.05.
Thank you, Adam. Yeah, a brilliant showing there from ORT, it has to be said. We're going to take a quick break and we will be back for the start of the race in just a few moments' time. Don't go anywhere. Hello and welcome back to the pre-season test of Wayports Racing League Season 2. Here were the qualifying results from just a moment ago. Bruno from ORT setting a great time there, a 36.72 to claim pole in the pre-season test. Mariano for Interlink France will line up alongside him. Andy and Romano from ORT on row 2. Ian from Bundles alongside Valentina from Interlink France on the 3rd row. Eduardo for Interlink Argentina and William from Interlink Brazil on row 4. And Pedro for ORT at the back in P9. We are moments away from the start of the race here, Adam. And yeah, what does Bruno need to do to get a good start and get that car in the lead as we head into the first corner?
Well, he's got to make sure he gets away quickly. I mean, it's not incredibly hard in this car. You mostly just want to floor the throttle and just let go of the clutch in first. But yeah, cover the inside line, which it already has, as the lights are about to go green. And
We're
he's
green.
missed the start.
Yeah,
Bruno's
Bruno
missed
is
the
away.
start.
He is away from the start. We have got there's an error straight away off the blocks there, as we have a driver, not ready for the start of the race. So this is something that they're going to have to work on for the start of the real season. They need to be ready when the lights go out. We have 14 laps registered on the clock here, and Mariano has been gifted first place as we enter turn number 1. It looks like Romano, who started in P4, he's got quite a run at him, and this is a big shake-up at the beginning. I wonder if Bruno has finally made a start, but that is a really, really big problem for him getting away from the grid.
Also interesting to see that Andy, who was really close to Mariano in qualifying, did not get he didn't get the greatest start in the world. He's already got back past Eduardo, but
And he's got front damage. He's got damage on his car already.
He does have a bit of damage, yeah.
Yeah, so the drivers in this race need to make a pit stop at some point to, they don't have to do any work on the car. They just have to make a trip down the pit lane and stop in the box, as we see Ian from Bundles battling hard with Eduardo from Interlink France.
You know what?
Argentina, sorry.
You know what I think happened to Andy? I think he went straight into the back of Bruno because he was expecting Bruno to be going.
Yes.
So that's where he's picked up the damage from. Hopefully it's not that much, seeing as it was a fairly square-on hit, but
yeah.
From outside it does look like quite a lot.
Battling hard here are Ian and Eduardo, but up front Mariano is under pressure from Romano. He's had a great start up from P4, and we've got a bit of contact in the back there. Eduardo, Ian and Valentina coming together. Remember, these guys are this is just the pre-season test. They're kind of warming up for the season. We're not expecting the cleanest and fastest of times today. This is just a practice session, really, for these guys, but it gives us a good indication of who to look out for. And Adam, as Mariano sets the fastest lap of the race, obviously he's in the lead. ORT are looking strong if they can sort out their starts.
Yeah, Bruno, after the issue that he had off the start line, he's looking fairly fast. He's got a small amount of damage on the rear. Actually, it's not that small, but
it's quite big. Like
it's quite
the
big.
The rear track length of that XFG is struggling, and he's actually catching up to Pedro. But yeah, that is going to be a handful, especially through the left-hander in the final sector of the lap. That's going to be a right nightmare to get around. Mariano is leading the way, and he is gapping. There's 2-second gap now to Romano.
Yeah, I mean, as we mentioned, Romano's quali time wasn't as fast as those on the top 3, so Andy should be hoping to make quick work of Romano. Got a nice line into this corner. He's going to have a look on the exit. Romano runs wide, and a little bit of contact there. Andy obviously not expecting Romano to run out that wide.
Yeah, I mean, in the meantime, Mariano's just being allowed to run away at the front here. The gap's up to nearly 4 seconds as Andy's trying to get past Romano as quickly as he can. It's going to be tricky to do it in the final corner. He's taken the outside line. Will he be able to hold this around the outside? That would be impressive. Oh, more contact. Yeah, it's really difficult to hold that line. It's a bit like bumper cars out there in P2 and 3, but Andy's made the move now around the outside, and now he needs to focus and set his sights on Mariano. Hopefully no drama into turn 1 as we enter lap 3 of the race.
If Romano can do a decent hairpin and a decent chicane, he might have another chance at the back straight, but it looks like Andy's taken a beautiful line through T1, so looks like he's got a breakaway. He does ride the curb a lot there, though.
Yeah, the drivers love to ride the curve, and we've got Eduardo doing just that. He's actually smashed the one of the tire bundles, and he's had another collision with Ian. So these two are going to be fighting all race long and probably all season long. Let's be honest. They had a few coming together in the first season. I don't see why season 2 should be any different. Mariano 6.2 seconds. He's driving away at the front. I wonder if Andy can convert his qualifying pace into race pace and do anything about Mariano's pace right now. Bruno with that unfortunate start, he's up to P6, but look at the damage on the back of the car. It's just going to be so difficult to drive. Let's watch him as he goes through this corner on the back straight. With that rear track width being a little bit shorter than it is, Adam, the car's going to be a handful in the corners.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't as big a deal as if it was a more rear-biased car. You know, in the XFG, you want the rear to be a bit floaty anyway, so it shouldn't be a massive deal. But even still, you know, in the slower corners, it could mess with the balance. So
I
it
mean,
will be losing tenths and seconds here and there.
yeah, to be fair, looks like a pretty smooth drive, even though that car is very damaged. We've got Pedro's just been overtaken by Valentina. Valentina has not had the start to this race that she would have wanted. P7, not ideal. 30 seconds off the lead already of her teammate. Mariano's just gone fastest of anyone in the entire session and indeed qualifying. He's just gone faster than the qualifying time. So Mariano definitely on pace. He did this during practice. He set a PB during one of the races, so maybe qualifying just isn't his thing right now, and he's able to set these great times in the race.
Well, as you were saying, in qualifying, Mariano was the one to set his fastest times at the end of qualifying, and because we've had shorter qualifying, obviously taking a little while to get used to the track.
We've got Bruno and Eduardo side by side. Bruno really is carving his way through the field. He's up to P5 now. If he can make this move on Eduardo's stick, Eduardo will have to go the long way around because Bruno has chosen that inside line. That's Ian from Bundles up ahead. And Bruno makes short work so far, but Eduardo's got the cutback, and he'll have the inside line for this little chicane here. Bruno earlier on the brakes a little bit, and Eduardo's got the move back, so these two are going to be dicing for a little while. Bruno is going to need to find another way around Eduardo with that damaged car. Bruno has the pace, but he has damage, and it really will affect him. He's gone for the inside line, but again, brakes a little bit later than Eduardo. Eduardo does run wide and actually off the circuit into the gravel, and that'll be move done for Bruno.
It's a shame for Eduardo because he's obviously got a decent amount of racecraft. Maybe he just doesn't have the raw pace of Bruno. Up ahead now for Bruno, he's got Ian from Bundles.
Yeah, Ian also sporting some damage, probably from the start. As we said, most of these drivers picked up their little bits of damage at the beginning, either avoiding Bruno or heading into turn one. Ian's got a little bit of left front, which is probably the most important tyre around this track, Adam, because all of the corners pretty much are right-handers, and that's the tyre that gets the most load. And if you've got some damage on it, it's going to start to get hot. And when it gets hot, the car becomes slower. So Ian is going to be under all sorts of trouble from Bruno, and look at the gap. Like, Bruno has just taken chunks of time out of Ian in the first sector.
Yeah, he was a whole second faster than Ian in that first split, and with the draft that going down into this turn 3, it's going to be far closer yet, as we see Ian with that scorching hot front left running wide.
Yeah, you just saw the rubber being laid down, and again we have a side-by-side battle involving Bruno. This is great. Obviously, Bruno did not want to be on a recovery drive in the pre-season test. He wanted to lead from the front, obviously. He made a statement in qualifying. He's now side-by-side with Ian as we head under the WRL bridge, and 2 corners to go on this lap, and it looks like Bruno's trying the outside line around the second to last corner this time, where Eduardo went, and Ian's just said, thank you, I'll keep that place for now. As Ian pits.
Ian's decided to take his mandatory pit stop. Again, as we said, you don't need to do anything to your car, you've just got to go in and out, but he might choose to fix some of that damage.
Yeah, let's see, what's he going to do? It's a quick stop, and he's straight away, fuel only in that car for Ian, so a little splash and dash, tiny bit of fuel, and he's away. Didn't feel as though he needed to sort any damage out. 2.4 seconds to stop, so he'll come out probably around, well, if Bruno can get the hammer down, probably behind Bruno, you'd have to say, but somewhere around Eduardo from Interlink Argentina.
Yeah, Bruno will be very happy about this because that means he doesn't have to battle his way past Ian. As we can see, he's already setting a faster split time than he has the whole race, I believe. So now for him, it's if he can catch Romano. Of course, his teammate, so it's a bit of an inter-team battle we could be seeing here in the next few laps.
Yeah, I mean, the start that Bruno well, let's say he didn't get a start, really, did he? He was backwards on the grid essentially, and he's only 25 seconds behind Mariano, and we've still got well over half the race to go. As we watch Mariano about to come round to start lap 7, he's yet to make his pit stop. Doesn't need to make it yet. He can wait pretty much until the dying laps. We've got Romano in the pit lane for ORT, so another driver deciding to make the pit stop. Bit of grass on the entry. There, not ideal, but gets the car slowed down to the 80 kilometers an hour speed limit. Needs to pick his pit stop, and is it going to be a quick stop? It's not. Romano, this is bad for his race. He's decided to repair his damage. That was a slightly longer stop than we saw before from Ian. 7.8 seconds for Romano, so that's going to drop him down the order a bit. As Bruno now takes up P3 on the road. Still has to make his pit stop, though, so could be in a battle with his teammate Romano come the end of the race.
Yeah, while Romano was in the pits, Mariano was setting the pace out the front. He set a 1:36.29, which is, I think, is over half a second faster than any of the laps we saw in qualifying. So he is on a mission. He obviously wants to show everyone his pace before the start of the proper season, as he is coming up behind a lapped car of William from Interlink Brazil. William makes sure to get out of the way, but he has a little bit of grass, catches the grass and taps the barrier. Doesn't look like he's got much damage though.
Yeah, a little bit of a wobble, but that does put him a lap down. So yeah, William will only be able to complete 13 of the racing laps unless he gets lapped again. And Ian is about to have to do the same thing. Not Ian, sorry, Andy. I have to say, Andy. Oh, as Andy comes in the pits, so there we are. Good timing. Didn't want to battle with the back marker of William there. Decides to pit and decides to tag the speed limit sign in disgust as he enters the pits.
Yeah, obviously, doesn't like having to adhere to the speed limit. As he quite a decent stop there. Takes a tad of fuel, a little splash of fuel, and away again.
Eduardo's in the pits as well, Adam. So lots of drivers deciding to make their pit stop kind of halfway through the race, which is quite a common technique. But yeah, we in the commentary box, we always feel that in a sprint race like this, it's always best to go as long as you can, maintain your track position, and then pit as late in the race as Eduardo decides to repair his damage, which is going to be a long stop for Eduardo. That's going to bring Ian straight through. Probably Valentina as well, if Valentina might overtake. Valentina's coming to pit, so this is going to be a straight fight between those two. Valentina also repairing damage, so that'll be a longer stop for her as well. Pedro yet to pit.
Interesting to note that Andy has come out in front of Bruno. Bruno, of course, yet to make a stop, and Andy's just made his. But 2 seconds the gap, so it'll be interesting to see how much this damage is affecting Bruno pace-wise. If he can catch up with Andy, or if he's just the damage is really slowing him down.
Yeah, the important gap here, Adam, now I think is between P3 and P4. How quick can Bruno go? As Andy puts it off on the grass. Mariano's coming to pit lane, so he's decided to pit at the end of lap 8. Let's see how quick this stop is for Mariano. Probably not that long. He's got no damage on the car. Straight in 2.1 seconds. Fastest stop of the day. Only 1% fuel being added to that car. And Andy will be quite a way behind. Bruno, obviously, as Adam mentioned, yet to make a pit stop, but it does look like he's going to be fighting with Andy on the track. So we're in for a bit of excitement here. Before Mariano came in, I mentioned that the real battle, I think, for the podium actually is between P3 and P4, the two ORT teammates. The gap is already quite big, and that gives Bruno a bit of breathing room for his pit stop, of course. He may be coming out just ahead or just behind Romano at this rate. Depends how late he leaves it, and depends how hard he battles with the man from Strings, Andy, here, the purple XFG, leading the way down the back straight in P2 at the moment on the track.
Well, yeah, as you're saying, if Bruno does decide to battle Andy for a couple laps, there's a high chance that he will lose that place to Romano, because it's about a 12-second gap between third and fourth, which should be around enough time to make a pit stop and come out in front. As we're hearing that Romano's had a little issue. He's only lost a couple seconds, a little half spin coming out of turn 1.
Yeah, you don't want to spin, especially when you're in a direct battle. And we know that the battle you want to win is the race, but you also want to beat your teammates. So, battle of the teammates is important in WRL and any racing series, actually. As we resume this battle with Andy and Bruno underneath the WRL bridge, we go for the 9th time. And Bruno's loving these kind of dummies into the second to last corner, forcing the drivers ahead wide. And look, Andy's on the grass. He's done it again. Bruno is a magician. Living rent free inside Andy's head right now, and Andy's gone wide again. Just Bruno he's a natural.
Bruno playing with the clutch there, trying to get some revs into the car. Quite low in third gear there, so he wanted to pick up the pace a bit as he looks round the outside of Andy into turn 1. Haven't seen the outside work the whole race, so we'll see if he can do it this time.
Gone deep on the brakes, and it's worked. Managed to hold it. Bruno's trying the cutback. There might be a bit of contact, as there is. And with that shortened track length, you risk rolling the car like that. And we almost saw Bruno's race come to an end there, as the two don't go into one through the chicane entry, Adam.
Yeah, it's not a place you really want to be going too wide. Obviously, Andy had decided that it was his corner and that he was going to take the racing line, as he probably does have the right to do, as Bruno didn't have much of an overlap at all.
Well, that won't have helped the gap between Bruno and Romano, as you can see on the timing tower there. The gap between Bruno and Romano is 15 seconds, and Bruno doesn't want that gap to go down. Bruno wants that gap to go up, so he may have to consider pitting this lap just so he doesn't battle with Andy. You don't want to be battling with someone who's on a different strategy to you. So if I were Bruno, I'd think about sending that car down the pit lane, but he needs to be careful in the sprint race. He's got the pace in the car, even with the damage. He doesn't want to repair that damage. He wants his pit crew to leave that well alone, as we've got a car, sounds like it's on its side, off camera somewhere, and it is. It's one of the ORT teammates. It's Pedro who resets his car.
And we've got Bruno. Sorry to interrupt. Bruno is in the pits.
Here we go.
So we'll see if he does decide to take some damage repair or not. I would hope that he just goes in and comes right back out again. Indeed, it looks like he does. So this is going to be a battle coming out of turn 1 between Bruno and Romano. Of course, Bruno's got to adhere to the pit lane speed limit as Romano's going sailing by full speed on the home straight. This is going to be incredibly close into turn 1.
Yeah, between the two ORT teammates, this is going to be great. This is going to be a fight for the podium in the pre-season test of Wayports Racing League. Bruno has the longer line around the outside. Romano is through, but we know that Bruno has the pace in his car at the moment, and we're going to see a battle as Pedro, when he served his pit stop, has just got a drive-through penalty, so he'll have to go back through the pit lane to serve that unless he wants a disqualification. We haven't talked about Mariano in a while. He's sailing away out front. 12 seconds the gap to Andy for strings. Then it's this battle between the ORT teammates, and they're already side by side. Adam, take it away.
Yeah, side by side. Bruno going for the inside line. Romano's early on the brakes. It looks almost as if there's some team orders at play there, but I don't think there would be.
Not in the pre-season, surely.
Yeah, surely not. Nice move there from Bruno, getting it done cleanly and quickly, as to lose as little time as possible. As behind him, Romano runs wide and rolls it. He's flipped it. He's flipped it over those curbs that I was mentioning. Make sure to get the car reset quickly.
2 of the 3 ORT teammates have been on their roof this race, and I hope Bruno doesn't plan on making it a third. Bruno nearly did it, didn't he, at the chicane with Andy? And to be fair, Bruno's car in its current state is the most susceptible to rolling over. And I don't want to give it the curse of the commentator, but so far so good for Bruno. 2 laps to go for him as he comes across the line next time round. Mariano is going to make it 2 to go when he crosses the line next time, as he heads down the back straight with no challenger today. It looked like Bruno was going to bring the battle to the Interlink France driver, but no such luck. Bruno botched the start. We've got a crash ahead. We've completely unseen to us. Valentina and William from Interlink Brazil have come together. So back marker trouble there for Valentina, and now a very damaged looking front end on that car. We've got heavy left front toe damage on the suspension there for Valentina. You can see the tyre is not cambered properly, and that's going to be a handful for the final 3 laps for the Interlink France driver.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting to note, Andy is on a flyer of a lap at the moment. He's set a beautiful split one. But
Spotted.
will it be affected by Valentina with the damage? Be interesting to see, because obviously she's going to be going very slow into these last two corners. She's on the racing line.
Yeah,
Let's see if
hopefully
she
moves
dives
out
into
of
the
the
pits.
way.
No, she doesn't.
Everybody has made their mandatory pit stop, but obviously if drivers are struggling for grip or lap time or damage, they can come in the pit lane to repair it. Anyway, Andy takes the wide line around the outside of Valentina. Valentina not showing any signs of yielding that position to Andy. An exchange of horns, in fact, as we head down, and now Valentina yields, and Andy gets past with no problem.
Yeah, obviously that little back marker obviously affected him there. Lap time maybe wasn't as good as I assumed it would be. He's lost a little bit of time to Mariano now. But I'm not sure if that was ever going to be a battle anyway after lap one.
A driver that I imagine isn't having too much fun out there right now is Ian from Bundles. He's had that front left damage the entire race, didn't repair it at the pit stop, and that front left must be crying in pain. 13 laps now completed for Ian, looking like a solid P5 finish in the pre-season test. Eduardo's quite close behind, but 5.6 seconds the gap in 2 laps. It's a tall order for the Argentinian driver.
You say it's a tall order, but on this last lap, Eduardo was almost 2 seconds faster than Ian. So if Eduardo can keep that pace up and Ian doesn't improve, this could be a battle to the line.
Yeah, Pedro's come into the pit lane and only had to do a drive-through, but decided to stop in a pit box during it. So a bit of a strange way to serve your drive-through. But anyway, here comes Mariano across start-finish to start the final lap of the pre-season test for World Wayports Racing League Season 2. He's coming up to turn 1, heavy on the brakes. Just one more lap, Mariano. Don't throw it away. You've got a comfortable 12-second gap over your arch nemesis in WRL, Andy from Strings, who is trying to get past William from Interlink Brazil, the backmarker, and Bruno will probably have to contend with William on this lap as well, as these top 3, separated by just over 30 seconds, are all on the final lap now.
Yeah, it's looking like a 4-second gap from Ian to Eduardo in that battle for 5th. So Ian, if he just keeps it clean on this last lap, he will manage to keep that top 5 finish. Of course, as it is the pre-season race, there are no points. So don't have to worry if this race didn't go to plan. Bruno will be very happy about that. But even still, you do want to send a message to your fellow racers, as Mariano, with this commanding, what looks like it's going to be commanding victory, will scare his opponents.
Yeah, a little bit. I think Bruno will learn from that mistake. I think this is just kind of first-timer mistakes. It's very easy. If you're not entirely sure of the format, or you're not ready, or you've gone for a coffee, then you can miss the start very easily. As Mariano for Interlink France crosses the line to win the pre-season test, 23 minutes and 7 seconds to complete 14 laps. That's pretty good pace, including a pit stop, and a best lap of a 1:36.29. Andy for Strings takes P2 on the road. His best time of 1:36.83.
Sorry to interrupt you, Pete. In this battle for 5th, Ian has run wide and Eduardo has come blasting through on the inside.
Yeah, so Ian's lost the place on the final lap. He's not gonna enjoy that. I mean, you can see the tyre just smoking in pain as it goes through the final chicane there, as Bruno comes across the line in P3. A very well deserved P3 there.
Ian's run out of fuel.
Oh,
so
no.
Not only does he have that boiling hot tyre, he's run out of fuel. He won't make it to the end. He's got too little speed for such an uphill last sector that he's not even going to make it to the finish.
That's a big shame for Ian from Bundles. While we were watching that, Romano for ORT came across the line in P4, as Eduardo from Interlink Brazil now takes over Ian, who ran out of fuel, to claim 5th place in the race. I'm sure Eduardo will be pretty happy with that. Someone who won't be happy, Ian. That's a disaster, isn't it? Running out of fuel on the final lap of the race. And there we go then. Valentina for Interlink France crosses the line in P6. William will take P7. And Pedro for ORT P8. And an unfortunate DNF there for Ian. He will still be classified on the results, of course, but yeah, didn't finish all of the laps. Let's get the results, Adam, and we can go for some driver interviews very shortly. So, in the race, as we saw, Mariano for Interlink France winning emphatically in the end after Bruno made a bit of a faux pas at the beginning, finishing 12.5 seconds ahead of Andy from Strings. Bruno for ORT, a great race, but ultimately destroyed by his missing the start. Managed to get ahead of his teammates Pedro and Romano in the end. Romano P4, Eduardo for Interlink Argentina P5, Ian for Bundles P6, Valentina for Interlink France in P7, William for Interlink Brazil in P8, providing some drama throughout the field, and then Pedro for ORT, finishing 2 laps down in the end in P9. Ian classified there in P6 because he did complete more laps than the cars behind. So I think we've got some interviews to look forward to. We'll take a very, very quick pause here while we set up for those. And yeah, hopefully we can grab some drivers. Don't go anywhere.
There's Ian Bundles.
Thank you for waiting for us. We have some interviews for you. In the commentary box just now is Mariano for Interlink France. Yes, hello, Mariano.
Hey.
So, I feel like you must have felt like you got gifted that win at that start. I mean, what happened with Bruno?
I still don't know. Yeah, I was definitely waiting for an on track battle there. I don't know what happened. I'd like to see him, maybe have a chat with him after this. I'm not sure what went down, but yeah, Andy improved his pace. He couldn't, I guess, catch up to get to set up any fight there. But yeah, I'm glad. There was this ongoing joke that I just couldn't win at this track. So it's not regular season, but at least I made it happen this time.
Yeah, you made it happen in the preseason. Yes, so just talking about the championship and the fact that this is the preseason, how excited are you for the pace of the ORT guys? That must be a bit of a nice surprise for you.
Yeah, almost too much of a surprise.
Yeah.
I'm really thrilled. This is what we wanted, but keep in mind these guys. This is the second day that they spent with LFS, so
amazing.
very impressive. I think we're gonna have to catch up to them this season. Yeah.
Yeah, a great qualifying session from yourself to be on the front row alongside Bruno. Tell us your thoughts about the preseason and what you're looking forward to in the second season of Wayports Racing League.
Right. I mean, we're setting up a nice competition. This is what we wanted: is more intense battles. Last season we had Santiago and Andy charging up a challenge there, and now this time it seems like we might have, I don't know, three teams fighting for the constructors, and plenty of drivers to go around. We haven't seen some of the other teams that are joining, so this is going to be a really different, really exciting season.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us in the commentary box. Hope to hear from you throughout the season, of course. And yeah, best of luck for this season.
All right. Thank you. See you.
Let's have a word with our second place man, Mr. Andy from Strings. Hi, Andy. Andy, are you with us? Seems like we don't have Andy. Oh, hello. Andy's here.
Okay. Hi, I'm there. Yeah.
How are you doing? So P2, 12 seconds behind Mariano. You're what I'm going to call your arch nemesis at the moment in Wayports Racing League.
Yeah.
How do you feel that race went?
He is absolutely, yeah. P2 is the best I can achieve. There's nothing more I can do. This guy is so fast. I'm glad with P2. I had my several mistakes, but no problem with that. We have very fast drivers in here, making the life very hard. So P2, I'm very happy with P2. Yeah.
Now we noticed that you, we heard that you invested in a wheel for Wayports Racing League, but today it seems as though you've returned to keyboard. Tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of invested in a wheel. Yeah, a cheap wheel, just for trying, just to have a bit fun. But I'm not improving with that. So I used keys today. There's nothing adjusted for my driving style. There's a lot of work to do, I think.
Great. Well, best of luck. I mean, Wayports Racing League Season 1, you had a season-long battle with Mariano, and you were definitely improving towards the end. And in qualifying, it looked like you had the edge over him, but yeah, just not to be in today's qualifying. What are you looking forward to from WRL2?
I enjoyed very much, and P2 in last season was quite good. But I think it will be hard to keep that position. They are really very good drivers, and even my teammate, he's faster than me, I guess. And the ORT, they are very good drivers. Will be hard, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be super tricky, but we look forward to watching your progress in the season. Thank you very much, Andy. Hope to see you in the commentary box in the season.
Yeah, thanks a lot. All
Cheers.
good to you. Ciao.
And finally, we can't chat to Bruno from ORT, sadly, but we do have Ian from Bundles, who had a very exciting race, and it all came undone on the final lap. Ian, how are you?
Hey, yeah, just had a tough last lap. I mean, I had the fifth position. Like, I was really good, really comfortable in that. But in the beginning of the last lap, I saw Eduardo through my mirror, and I had to speed things up, and I ended up missing that turn. And I also ran out of gas because I was trying this new strategy of not refueling, just during the practices, 15% of fuel was enough for the whole race, but not this time around, I guess. So I didn't refuel and ended up running out of gas.
Yeah. So a bit of clarity and a bit of information for the viewers. I was part of the Thursday's test for WRL, and I was giving the drivers a bit of advice. And Ian was one of those drivers, and I said, you know what, you should try to go the whole race with fuel. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. It was just a test event. Now I know that I maybe need more fuel for the next event.
Yeah, a little bit more fuel. So yeah, didn't go quite to plan in the preseason. But what are you looking forward to from Wayports Racing League Season 2?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we have new drivers now, and they're like really good. Like for the first event, they already had this. I guess it was third and fourth positions. So yeah, we'll have to practice and put a lot more effort in the practices because they come like full speed.
They absolutely do. We've got new people on the block, so to say. Bruno put in a stunning qualifying session. You must be worried about him.
Yeah, a lot because and Homano as well because I used to get the fourth position like comfortably, but now I'm just worried about that fourth position. I guess I don't want it anymore.
Well, anyway, Ian, hopefully we'll see you finishing races with enough fuel this season. So yeah, that's a good one. Thanks very much for joining us in the commentary box. Best of luck this season.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks. And finally, Valentina, are you up for a few words, Valentina? Hello, Valentina? Okay, doesn't sound like we can hear from Valentina today. But anyway, that wraps up the interviews here for Wayports Racing League Season 2, the pre-season test. Thank you very much for joining me, Adam. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're looking forward to the coverage and joining me in the commentary box a few times throughout the season.
Yeah, hopefully that was a great bit of fun there. Definitely very a bit of change of scenery, watching some demo racing, but yeah, definitely great bit of fun.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. We hope you can join us next time. What have we got next time? We have the first round of the season, the actual season, starting next weekend, Saturday, May 8th, from 2 o'clock UTC at Kyoto Ring National Reversed. It should be absolutely fantastic. We hope to see you there. All the best. This has been a Sim Broadcast. I'm Peter Butcher. I've been joined by Adam Brown. This series presented by Wayports. See you next time. Goodbye.